Am I frozen?
You
Am I
did
am
that
I
on purpose.
am I alive?
Hello, John. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling a little alive today. How are you doing?
Not bad. It's been a long week already, and
Yeah.
I don't
Do you
I
know
don't
who, do
even
you
know.
know who I am?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm John
Not been that.
Ferguson.
It's
You know where
not
I
that
work?
long.
You know where I work? I work at the Arbor Day Foundation. And guess what I do there?
I don't know. Tell me.
I work in coffee. And people are like, "What?" So anyway, did you know coffee grows on on
Trees.
evergreen shrubs, trees, shrubs? There's a debate, but basically, it's a plant and it's a fruit. And the cherries they grow and then they turn red and they are picked and then they get processed and then they get roasted sooner or later. But during that early stages of life, there's a lot of land that sometimes these forests get wiped out and they just plant trees. So what our job is, or my job is to find coffee that's being grown by coffee producers that are approaching that with a little bit more care and sustainability, where they're just going to manage the forest, keep them there, but keep coffee as an understory and kind of mimic the natural habitat that was found in Western Ethiopia. So you could call it shade grown coffee. That's what I call it. That's what we call it. But it's really coffee agroforestry systems and how do you build them back? Uh,
Sure.
yeah,
Now,
stronger.
John, when you're replanting Arbor Days,
Yeah,
doing that
yeah.
process, do they try to stay with indigenous trees? That's
I would say native tree species are great, but there's a cross section between that and leguminous nitrogen fixating trees to help rebuild the soil, and then all that other stuff. But that's what I do. I also do like this co-roasting space. I call it this week. I'm calling it Awesome Tsunami of
tsunami.
coffee micro nano roasters. You're getting together and we're all roasting in the same space, sharing the equipment, and we've got handmade coffee by Kara Fike. Hi, Kara. Hopefully you're watching. She may or may not be watching. I do Mosaic Coffee. I got my own little brand. And then there's Metal Art Coffee. They're starting to roast their own. And then there's this place in Seward. I think it's like Coffee on the Square. I'm sorry, Ashley, if I got that wrong, but she's starting to roast too. And all of this is going to be done now at Mojava Coffee Cafe and Roasting Company. And I'm so glad that Paul, actually, he called in one week. Paul, he asked about that piece that I didn't know what the correct term was. It was like oh my gosh, it was a switch, heating element switch. Anyway, Paul owns Mojava, and he said, okay, everybody, why don't you go roast coffee at my place? And we'll have a bunch of different coffee roasters on the shelf, maybe with the same coffee, but interpretations are different and the brands are different, the people are different. Instead of like one person having 20 different coffees, you have an owner having 20 different roasters, all roasted at his spot, but with different interpretations. And you could rent the space. I can teach you, or I can try to teach you how to roast coffee, and you can become a part of that. So that's a co-roasting space. Awesome Tsunami, coffee roasting space, collaborative cooperation.
That's great that you're into that. I was afraid that you were going to have to do that in your kitchen.
You can almost see the SF6 there, but one last thing before we introduce you to the world and also the world to your world. Guess what I sold about an hour ago?
You sold the lovely white La Marzocco.
I did it, and it's going to live in Grand Island, Nebraska, and it's going to be at
neighbors
at Zabuni, the Kenyan importing green coffee place, and he's going to build out a training center, and I'm going to go out there and do some barista work with him once in a while. But I think he got lucky. I gave him a good price. I put my heart and soul in that thing, and also learned a lot. So I'm glad that it's out of my kitchen, sort of.
Well, you did a good job on that. It looked real nice.
Yeah.
It looked
real nice. Marty, you helped me with that. You got the heating element out of it. And I go to you for all things technical here, and that's why you're on the show. And that's you're the bedrock to this whole thing. Where are you? What's your last name?
Well, I am Marty Rowe out of Kansas City. And if anyone's been in the Kansas City area, and I say that it's not limited to a small area. Kansas City's region is pretty good size. It takes in a lot of area. If you've ever been there, you'll know it's a great coffee scene. you throw 100-mile radius around outside of Kansas City, and there's a lot of really good coffee going on, roasters and cafes. Um, uh, you mentioned getting your heat element out. I run a service company and a cleaning company, a training company.
You should think about a cleaning company because of COVID. You can make a lot of money doing that.
Reason I brought that up is that I made one heck of a mess today, and I spent a lot of my day cleaning up after myself. But we've got Workbench.
Was it
Oh,
milk?
no. Okay. Workbench Coffee Labs is a tech training facility that we're wanting to give opportunity to technicians that are wannabe technicians that want to be better technicians, a path they can get on this merry-go-round either as a newbie that's never done anything or as someone that's done something for a while within the industry. And we've got classes for all of those people within Workbench Coffee Labs. So that's what we do. But you mentioned getting you over the hump. I spend a lot of my day not only in service and helping people, but in our training, getting people over the hump. That's
so. Is that like so? If you get by with a hammer and cold tap water to brew coffee, perhaps you don't need to join us, but we highly recommend you do. And that's kind of like a saying. It's sort of like, if you think you got it, that's all good, but like you should call Marty, and then you really figure out like what's going on with that machine and how you can make it better, how you get it calibrated, and then also like how to pull the shot properly. And we're going to go deep today in this stuff. So I think that we should. If there's anything else, I want to move on to the next slide. But
are we moving into that episode or the portion of the episode where I think it's your goal to just really stump me?
Yep. And I'm going to say it real quick. We got Mark Crawford here today.
Awesome.
From Eversys. You actually he's like, hey, I got this guy. Who wants to talk about drive-throughs. And I'm like,
well,
drive-throughs, like who wants to talk about drive-throughs? That's so boring.
John,
but I'm like,
know why?
That is the next. Yes, I do.
You know why?
These people don't know.
Very topical with COVID going on.
Yeah,
that's the number one thing that we've noticed as a change in the last several months is a huge interest in how do people safely get their product out there to them.
Well, I would say what you could do.
And so Super Automatics is a portion of that.
Oh, Super Automatics. Okay. Yeah. And then we're also going to talk about these places called convenience shops where you can buy a little bit of gasoline to put in your car. So then you can go through the drive-through later on and get your coffee also. So you can go to a convenience store, and then, possibly go in and get your coffee and leave. And who does that? Like, who goes to a gas station to get coffee? It's called gas station coffee. Remember that everybody has a bad connotation.
All right,
like,
John, now hang on. You can't diss gas station coffee.
I just did. It tastes terrible.
Well, here's the deal. There's potential. And I'll give you a segue into that.
All right.
When you come to Kansas City and you think barbecue.
Yes, I do.
Probably the number one sought after we've got to go while we're in Kansas City was named Oklahoma Joe's. They call it KC Joe's now. Have you been to the original? You have been to the original location.
I've been in line. I don't know if I got in. It's sort of like a dead show. It's sort of like I got to the parking lot, but I wasn't able to get in because I couldn't get a ticket.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is in a gas station. It's not in a gas station that was converted to a barbecue restaurant. It's in a gas station. They're still serving gas.
Yep.
And if you're not there when they open up, you're in John Ferguson's line waiting.
And they're never going to run out of fuel there for their barbecue.
With the technology that's out there today and the quality of coffee that's being grown and roasted and distributed out there, there's no reason you can't get a good cup of coffee. I don't care where it's at.
Well, I got a good reason why you can't get a good cup of coffee, because your machine's broke. So let's talk about what's happening here. Do you see this?
Okay.
You see it, right?
Let me change screens here. What's happening here? I see the words. What's happening here?
And now we need to have some of the person that knows how to do all this IT stuff. And call it. Go for it. And you got to listen, Marty. It's all about hearing it. You got to listen to this. You got to listen to it. If
Okay.
you can't hear
I
it,
gotta listen.
I will mimic the sound if it doesn't make a sound. All right, go ahead. Yeah, it's only 17 seconds long, and I'll keep on talking until I see it. But this was something that, oh,
And should I be seeing that?
not quite yet. Hold on. No.
I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. You've
Yeah, let's see what I can do here.
you've stumped me.
Okay. Hold on just a second here. Nope. Let's see here. Well, I think I'm going to give the answer away. Let's see here. This is the fun stuff. You nobody that's waiting. Well, there it is. There's your answer. There's a drop in voltage caused chatter on the contactor. Yeah, so anyway, we're going to move on. That didn't work today. Sorry, but there's a video that I could share with you, but I don't know how to do that at this point. So we're going to go to the next one. Name that machine. All right, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Hoping
right.
hoping this is a slideshow.
This is a slideshow, but that other one, it was like the inside of a La Marzocco on the top, and like you could hear it. It was just like going in the contactor. It would just go like really loud, like.
John, how'd that go?
Oh, the audience can hear it. Okay, so it was kind of like a loud shatter, right? Like, and it just sounded terrible. And I was like, man, what is this? So, and they said something about a drop in voltage. So could you explain that at least, Marty, what that means?
All right,
You could see
what I believe, because I'm kind of at a disadvantage here. What I believe what you're hearing, and we hear this a lot of machines, there's a component in there called a contactor that is delivering the high voltage power to the heat element. Well, how that operates is it's got a coil in it that becomes a magnet when you send power to it. The device that's sending power to that magnet, that electromagnet, if it's not rock solid starting up and dropping out, you end up with a period of time, a short period of time, where it's not at 100% voltage. And so that magnet's not at 100% strength, and you will get a chattering of that contactor. Is that it?
That's exactly what it is. But and even giving that away, you not seeing the video and explaining it, you win. That's a winner.
We've seen it.
I think you even got like extra points on that because I saw it on a Facebook feed. Like one of those La Marzocco, things, and I was just like, oh, I've never seen that before. I bet you Marty knows what that is. So anyway, we've got name that machine. Name that machine. That machine. All right. What is it?
Wow, that looks like a PID of some sort. I don't know what machine it is. I'm going to. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, next slide. Next slide.
Are you going to be adding to this?
Yes.
Oh, the interface there.
Now I'll give you a clue. All these parts go to the same machine.
Okay. It's looking familiar. This is going to be a fairly new, this isn't a 10-year-old design. This is this is fairly current.
This wasn't made in the 70s.
No, this is good stuff.
Ready to move on to the next one?
Yep. That's got a and what that is, I believe that's telemetry. So definitely new stuff here.
Have you ever seen this before?
Not that well. I don't know. Maybe I've seen several.
What do you think it's on? You think it's on an espresso machine or is it
Yeah,
on a grinder?
I think it's on an espresso machine, and I think it's
Well,
one
what
that
else?
you
What
can
else could it be
dial
on
up.
if it wasn't on an espresso machine? What else would it be on? And that's a clue, because I'm
Oh.
basically saying, what if it was not on an espresso machine? What might it be on?
Something you're going to want to keep an eye on.
What's that?
I'll bet if we brought Mark Crawford in here, he could tell what that is.
Maybe so. This one's a little bit.
'cause I'm-
This might be a little bit out of your element, Marty. This might pressure you a little bit too much. Into,
It looks like a transducer to me.
what's that? What's a transducer?
Pressure transducer.
What would that do?
But
Would it?
but it also
Does it
you know
open or
what?
close something?
Actually, that's an actuator. That's a hydraulic or pneumatic actuator.
It's a hydraulics, and so where would you put a hydraulics on what? Like what would it?
I'd put that on a roaster, on a opening and closing of a gate on a roaster.
And what is that?
That's a door seal.
Of some sort. And then
Yeah.
so it's
yeah.
a roaster. What kind of roast would it be?
I
Like an
think
old Probat or what? What do you think it is?
This isn't something that you have, is it?
It's something
it's going to be a really
It's
really
something
nice.
that yes, it's very nice. And I've watched this thing get built from the screw on up to its completion. I was able to watch it get built in the United States. There's your
Well,
clue.
then there's clue. We'll keep bringing me another picture. We may be out of pictures here.
This is the last picture you get, Marty. It
it's
was made in the
probably the
United
whole
States. It was made in the United States. Does this look like something on a San Franciscan or like a Dietrich?
I'd say either one of those.
What about this thing?
Oh, that's a beautiful, beautiful. I'm seeing some recycle of air,
Getting close to it?
and I did you go down to the roastery and to get their deal? You know, there's actually 3 of those in Kansas City.
This one, the
Yeah.
Kestrel S35.
Well, I don't know about the Kestrel, but yeah, that's Loring is a
Yeah, I would say,
beautiful
Marty,
instrument.
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, you kind of got a 7 on this one, and I think that I
Yeah.
went a little bit too hard on you. I was like,
Here's-
what can I do to? It's like absolutely just like it's not on an espresso machine, it's not on a grinder, nothing. It's like, but I know that you work on roasters every once
Well,
in a while.
here's the deal. You know, everyone's got a word or something that is just they can't get it in their head when it comes up in conversation. The word Loring, for some reason, always escapes me when we're talking about that. And I've wrenched on them. They've got great techs out there, so they don't need hacks like me doing a lot of that stuff. But I'm familiar with them. But if someone was to say, "Hey, what's that roaster that they've got down there at wherever?" and if it was a Loring, I would have to struggle to get it because that's one of those things.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
me.
hey, so I've got this Loring is basically the most advanced technology, I would say, that it's applied to the roasting, you know, in a certain smaller batch world. But I kind of want to transition to that into like this idea of like, well, today's conversation, we were talking about technicians in cars fixing coffee. So I'm trying to get this idea of like, okay, let's get you on a pair of wheels and let's get automated. Let's
Sure.
get yourself in a car.
Absolutely.
Let's go through a drive-through and talk about these gas stations and drive-throughs. But I wanted to also introduce Mark Crawford. Mark Crawford, are you with us right now? Yeah.
I am with you, John.
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Going great, thanks.
Hey,
Hello,
so
Mark.
Hey, Marty.
hey, so I got you here because Marty was like, hey, you gotta invite Mark to this conversation because we're talking about like what's happening and you know, as far as you know, where cafes are shutting down. And I think that there's some opportunities out there where I made this little quick slide and I put a little quote. I quoted myself saying this because I wanted to get popular on some quote. But anyway, it says, the gas station and the drive-through. If you think you can't serve specialty coffee out of a gas station or drive-through, it simply leaves the opportunity wide open for those who can. And I think it's just basically it's a mentality that you have to basically be open to say like, you know, you know, if you can do it behind the bar, and if you can do, you know, if you can pull a shot relatively quickly, there's no reason why someone that's going through a drive-through, you can just open the window and hand it to them, right? And or if it's a gas station, you can simply go in and you know, pay for your gas and get a and get a you know, like a well-made you know, cup of coffee. But there are a couple complications there, and it's not, you know, it's not apples to oranges here. We've got some issues. We've got cultural differences between how you enter into a place and what expectations you have. And I think that raising the bar of that expectation, Mark, I want to talk a little bit about like what you're into, like this, as far as like this this forbidden word of super automatic. It's
Yeah, I
like,
saw you flinch earlier when I said that word.
super automatic. It's like, oh, I don't need any hands. I don't need a brain. I can just push a button. It's like, no, you still need a good manager. And then you need a good technician. You know how to clean the thing. And you also need to know how to dial it in to make it taste good. So Mark, like, are super automatics terrible or what? Can you like tell me why anybody would want a super automatic?
Well,
And let's start
John,
from there, bottom up.
I was going to say there's about 15 questions there, but we can sure.
I got four more right here.
Oh, perfect.
Go
Okay.
for it. So do you need to go super auto to serve customers in autos? That's another
I
whole question.
see where you're going with that. No, the answer would be no. The answer would it possibly be better? Yes. Maybe for a whole bunch of reasons, but what's the first question, John?
Well, the first question is like on here, it says, are specialty coffee roasters afraid of the perception of serving coffee in this fashion? I think that I think that maybe they're not afraid, but they just kind of are dismissive about the idea of like using a super automatic because it just, you know, and I have been too, because I've worked with some super automatics where you just can't use 20 grams of coffee and you can't extract it within 28 seconds. And you don't get as much experience in the flavor profile of the crema and the shot of espresso. But I've heard that there are some super automatics out there that are raising the bar and being able to achieve a certain amount of quality in the cup that was not there before. Is that true with what you are with what you are building here and what you've seen in the super automatic world? Marty and Mark, please add in. Can you get good quality out of a super automatic?
Yeah, there's certainly no question of that, John. And I'm sorry that I've left you 5 years behind in the process of what's going on here. But we have everybody from in the time that I've been doing this, some of the most recognized roasters from Stumptown to Counterculture to Intelli have all vetted this particular machine in their labs and declared it to produce the coffee that they want to produce. So there's a whole bunch of specific reasons how it does that, probably for another time. But the vetting of this machine really started with guys like Matt Perger and James Hoffman, both of who have said everybody needs to pay attention to this. So I can send you some of that historical information, John, to catch you up.
Well, I think that the next question is there a technical challenge due to the speed or limitation of the drink quality? And then, like you just answered, the one, has there been blind tastings by professional baristas that prove quality? And you said yes. There's been, like you got the James Hoffmans of the world and also the Stumptowns and Countercultures of the world. So, and have specialty coffee roasters approach these segments, with the right strategy of the gas stations and drive-throughs. Now we talked a little bit about the drive-throughs and you showed examples of that. And I'm sure that in gas stations, Marty, as you mentioned, that it's also there. And I'm just I wanted to spread this out to the rest of the world. Like,
Sure.
Maybe we're overlooking something here that we need to pay a little bit more attention to, not just super automatics, but how coffee is being perceived in these areas. And like where, there are technical challenges, but I think that like what you're saying here and with this machine is that the limitations have been kind of broken through and you actually can get a good shot of coffee out of a super automatic. But any more information would be great.
Yeah, to your point, that what we typically do is, we go into a lab and there's usually a Marzocco, a Slayer, Synesso in that lab, and we basically go in, please, make the best shot you can make, and let's dial that into into what we can produce because we've got so many controllable variables. Your point about loring is, I think, a great illustration. You know, the loring is the Tesla of the roasting industry, and you know we've really achieved that bar. With Eversys has achieved that bar in a very similar domain with making espresso shots.
Did you like that segue of like lowering to Eversys, sort of like taking technology to the next level where you can do a little bit more automated, a little bit more controlled with quality? And now
it was like a symphony.
It's like, so Marty, what's your take on servicing this stuff? Like, it's like, oh, super automatics, don't want to touch it, too much technical work. And does it balance it out? Like, you have all the training of a manual, like a 2-group La Marzocco Linea, which I will forever love dearly in my heart. But, and I'm thinking like, well, there's some service there too, and you have to clean it. And the super automatic, well, there's more service, got to clean it, but there's a little bit less training. And there's the next 2 slides. It's kind of a segue conversation, but you're gonna love it. So like, what's the cost of keeping these things afloat?
From my perspective, it's the cost is probably a wash.
Yep.
I don't see a significant difference in ownership long term. Mark might have some more data on that. But as far as working on them, the experience that we've had with the traditional machines segues real nice into the machines that are being built today. Yes, they're different. They have a lot more automation, but you're still needing to make a good cup of coffee.
And yeah. And I've been stuck on this slide for so long, Marty, and I should probably ask Mark, like, hey, there's a Dutch Brothers, and they're not paying me to do this, so I should probably like move on.
It's a pretty slide.
Well, what's up with Dutch Brothers? I mean, like, what do you got there? Are these super automatics? Are they like? No,
they're still with the first machines. They're actually using Marzoccos, which nice. They do extremely high volume at Dutch. But Dutch Brothers has, if I recall right, I sold them their first drive-through building, but they have moved into such a large company. They're doing $500 million with a B, $500 million a year in sales. And they're really the powerhouse of the drive-through business. There's been a couple spin-offs from Dutch Brothers, people that have left and started their own chains. And some of them have moved very quickly into super automatics because they didn't have the constraint.
And so I'd ask you this, Mark, if someone was going to open up a coffee shop, would you say it should have a drive-through?
Yeah, I would say, John, that's a great question. Is I've been traveling, and a lot of my travels in Texas, just because they're doing business in Texas right now. Almost every roaster that I'm talking to is only talking about opening cafes with drive-throughs, just because nobody knows how long this is going to last, and people's habits aren't really changing, or they think that they're going to maintain a lot of the habits that they've created in COVID. But yeah, I would say conservatively that I've said that for 10 years about drive-through windows. It's just been, what people do.
So what about gas stations? Like, you got cars, you need gas to go through these drive-throughs. Everybody's going there to fill up a tank of gas unless they have electric car. And then you could have like an electric espresso machine next to the electric pump. But I mean, is that a market that's also viable? Like, people are going to continue to go into these convenience stores, and is there a room for improvement there? I mean, obviously there is, but like, how do you make it happen? And is it worth
Sure.
Is there a certain cost analysis benefit or cost benefit analysis that you run to be like, oh, well, people that go into gas stations, they don't want to spend money on coffee. And I'm like, wait a second, everybody is getting gasoline for their car. A lot of those people won't go in because they think that the coffee is terrible. But if there's a sign that said like, we've got great coffee, I mean, everybody says that, but if there's some like, roasted by John Ferguson, it's like, oh, we better go in there and get it. Because like, that's the best coffee in the state of Nebraska or in the Midwest.
Well, I'd go to Nebraska just for that coffee.
You should. So it's good. I'll give you a free cup and you can drive through.
Yeah. So this segment has been morphing over the last, I would say over the last 10 or 15 years, because there they want people to go into those stores, and the more and more, millennials are demanding higher end products. One of the most remarkable stores, groups like that is called Twice Daily here in Tennessee. I'm in Nashville, and they built out these white bisons. John, I got to tell you, if you're in Nashville, you've got to come in, go to this bar, this coffee bar, which is a perfectly built. If you open your eyes, you would think you're in somebody's New York coffee bar. You're going to get a Mod Bar pour over, Hubbard and Craven coffee, and you're going to get a perfect shot of espresso. So these places are existing and they're popping up, but guys like White Bison are starting to do a remarkably great job of coffee.
And hey, so I've actually got hey, Marty, someone has called
Yes, sir.
in. Someone's called in.
That's awesome.
We've got a live.
We're here for
We
them.
got a live one on our hands.
We are here for them.
And I'm going to switch to the next slide because I think that our friend online here might actually have fun with this understanding convenience shops, quick lightning round exercise for y'all. And let's see if we can get Bud is his name. Bud. I know a Bud. I wonder if you know Bud, Marty. I don't know if you met him or not, but I think if he makes it on, I'll let him introduce himself.
Okay.
Let's see here. I'll ask him to start a video and see if he's going to come on, and Dietrich will probably take care of it. But and while we wait, oh, we got him. Okay. Hey, Bud, are you there? Can't hear him. Hey, Bud. Hey, there you are, Bud. What's up? Thanks for calling in. Can you hear me? Are you there? Hey, Dietrich, I think we got some IT issues, but we'll be all right. God, I swear he looks like he must be from St. Louis or something. I don't know. He's got that St. Louis beard. He's got that Missouri look, right? Have you, we got it all. I love this. This is good, Bud. We're here. But so this slide here, if you want to read through it while we're waiting here, is understanding convenience shops, a lightning round exercise. And I kind of drew this a little bit from your slides, Mark, as far as like what matters and, and I wanted to look on a scale of 1 to 10 being the most important, 1 being the least important, to running a successful program at a convenience shop or a gas station. So I want to rate the following attributes, and all of us can kind of participate in this. Bud, can you hear us yet?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're here. It's like the second or third time I've seen Bud in 2 days, and I'm like, hey, Bud, you got to call into my show tonight. So, Bud, where are you from, and why are you calling in, and where do you work?
I'm from St. Louis. I work for Caldy's Coffee, and I'm just calling in to support the conversation.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're here to support us, and I'm glad that you support the Arbor Day coffee program too, and do a great job roasting all of our coffee. So there you go. Cat's out of the bag, or whatever you call it. I think it already was. Everybody should know that. And that's why our coffee tastes so good.
Yeah.
And it's been like that for about a year or two now. So it's been an awesome growing relationship. And
Yes.
so I was like, let's talk about gas stations and drive-throughs. And this is a great one. And I'm going to give each one of you a bullet point. How's that? And Mark, you get the first one. Marty, you got the second one. Dietrich, if you want, you get the third one. And then Bud, you get the fourth one. As far as like, we're talking about walking into a gas station, how important are syrups to you, Mark? Like, or to running a good business? If you own that gas station, would you buy syrups? Like, is that really important, or one not important at all? And just real quick hit, because we got a lot going.
Yeah. So to me, it's a 0, but to that market, it's a 10.
Okay, we can do that too. Let's see who's up next. Water quality. Is it an absolute most important, or not important at all, Marty?
Well, with the increase that we've seen in the interest in specialty coffees, the C-store market that we're talking about, they probably value water quality better than anybody else out there. And
So
we
you
see
should.
we see some of the best water treatment systems in those C-stores, because they do not want to kill their machine.
So I'm thinking you're saying it's a 10, right?
Right. Now, from the consumer, they don't even think about it. They don't
But
care.
they're going to taste
but
it. They might taste it, right? So
They
that
might
matters,
taste it.
right?
So
Well,
it
that goes to
definitely
the-
matters.
And that goes into the one after this foam quality. I should have, but foam quality, who gets that one? Dietrich. How
All right, I
important
can
is
take
foam
it.
Quality.
Let's say in a convenience store, if you're going in, a lot of the customers there aren't going to be expecting, a double swan rosetta in their latte
Right.
art or anything. So
Right.
I would say foam quality in this scenario is lower. However, in general, if you're looking for, a good drink, foam quality sits, I'd say, between like a 7 or 8.
All right, I think 8 is a good one, and this is my professional gas station ownership opinion. But you've got shot quality. How important is like a good shot of espresso if you want to really make a good coffee program at your convenience store? Does it matter at all? 1 being doesn't matter, 10 is like really important. And you can keep it short. You just say 10. Or if you're watching like football, that's cool too.
Well, it's kind of an interesting dilemma we're looking at, because like if you look at like Italian cultures and typical European cultures, you're going to want to have like good quality shots, and you want to have it speedy and fast. I mean, this is something new that we're trying to adopt to it in the United States. But like if you go to like Nova Simonelli, or you like right outside of Florence, you're going to go into a cafe, you're going to get a shot of espresso. It's not necessarily you're going there for the experience, you're going there for the quick lightning quality that's going to come to you, and then you're going to leave. And so that's
Right.
kind of what we're trying to get at this right now.
So
It's-
I think so.
like-
Shot clock, 1 to 10. You think it's really important?
I think it's important. I'd say it's probably about based out of everything on the list, it should be in the top 4. It should be in the
So-
top 4.
You give it on a scale of 1 to 10. 8's pretty important, right? It's
Yeah,
not
I'd
10, it's not the most important thing. Okay, so I got. I'm going to do the type of and quality of cups, lids, and etc. Sort of like, am I going to use a foam cup? And I'm going to put foam cup as a 1. Sort of
Yeah.
like it works, but you're chewing foam, and it's like a really nice latte, and it's like, man, foam cups. And it's
The
a 20
the only thing that should be
Yeah.
going in foam cups is like cheap hot chocolate.
well, that's
That's the only thing.
So I would say the type and the quality of the cup that you are serving is probably like an 8 also. It's not like you got to have like the best biodegradable paper cup, but it shouldn't burn you. And but it also shouldn't distract from the experience. And there's no reason why in a gas station you have to have a foam cup. It's just cheap, and that's just what it is. The next one is variety of sizes. Do you like how important is it to have a big gulp 24-ounce, 32-ounce latte? And how important is it to have a 4-ounce or a 2-ounce macchiato? Should we have a wide range or a small range? Is that an important thing to think about? Is a variety of cups? And that goes to Mark. I'll give you that one. Most
So-
important thing, least important.
Yeah.
You walk into a gas station, the only thing you get is a 12-ounce.
Okay. The thing is, if it's actually in a drive-through window, you have to have a very large cup because people are on larger commute trips. So
Well, that's the next slide. So we're talking about convenience
Okay.
shops right now. Yep.
okay, so the convenience store sometimes has a drive-through window too. But anyway,
Yep.
just in general, if you're trying to make an authentic coffee experience, I would have ristrettos and I would have cortados all the way up to regular cafe-sized drinks.
So it's important to have a little bit of diversity, even at like if you want to lift up your experience at a convenience store, right? And the
Sure,
speed
'cause-
the speed of delivery is important too. Bud, what do you think about speed of delivery?
I mean, this is
Well,
a grab and go kind of culture. I feel like speed for a business like this is important. I would almost put it just below quality of coffee coming out.
And that's because of the culture that we have put in place as far as when you're going to the gas station, you don't want to spend 20 minutes there because your car's sitting in front of a pump. So if you own the place, you probably want your car to get moved.
You got
Like-
your kids in your car, you got
Right.
your dog in your car. It's like you're there just to get what you need.
So speed's pretty much like high up there, like closer to 10. Marty, we've got friendliness, right? Like,
Well, it's a different category. C-store, convenience stores, friendliness. Yes, it's very important for them to be friendly, but they don't need to know how your kids are doing in school.
right. So it's kind of, yeah, hey, how's it going? Go get your gas. We're not gonna look
Yeah.
to see what you're buying.
No,
So, right. And so
that's a
so-
pretty low bar.
so cleanliness, Dietrich, this is for you. Cleanliness. Is it important that when you go into a gas station that it's clean? And especially if you're going to try to get some higher end specialty coffee, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's got to look nice. All right. And then Mark, how important is low prices, deal savings? Sort of like, you know, if that cup of coffee costs more than $1 and you're trying to serve like a pretty nice cortado or something that you can get out of a machine rather quickly, like, you know, I know that it's important, but do you think you'd lose customers if you had raised the bar of your coffee experience? Like, can you get away with, or does low prices really drive the sale here, like with convenience shops, if they're going to like, I don't know.
I
How
think you
important
have
is
to
it?
have, you have to have the prices right tagged to Starbucks prices. Otherwise, I don't think you have authenticity. Nobody believes that you're really serving
Yeah.
good.
I agree. That's a good point.
Perception of value there.
All right.
Um,
So,
But like you look at like the Midwest and people aren't willing to pay the same prices that people on the West Coast. Even gas stations in the West Coast are different than gas stations in the Midwest. I mean,
right.
what
I think,
about
like-
the gas stations in Napa Valley? This would be like the perfect demographic for a high-end, like grab and go kind of coffee shop because
Hey,
those already are selling high-end wines and all that kind of stuff.
I have someone online that says, I wish my gas station had shots. That's a good one.
I feel like you're going to the wrong gas station if you don't have shots at your. I mean, most gas stations usually do sell
Yeah,
alcohol.
they-
They got the little shooters.
No, no.
Right, so hey, so this next slide is for more for Mark to kind of lead through. This is the drive-through lightning round exercise. As far as like, I don't know, I just put this together like the same rate the attributes on the scale 1 to 10, most important, 1 being least important. What's going to keep people coming back, and like what drives like your decisions here? Like, do you need really good foam quality? And I was reading your slides, Mark. It's like that makes sense. Like if you're going to put a lid on it, no one's really going to care what it looks like. You can't really be like, hey, here's the latte art, and then put a cup on it and hand it to them. But you mentioned some things about the slides there. So as far as a drive-through goes, again, syrups. How do you feel about that? Being as a drive-through?
Everything's about the syrup and the drive-through drinks.
Yeah, and that's. Do you think that that's universal? Like where, let's say, the Caldi's of the world. I'm going to call you out, Caldi's. Like if you build a drive-through, and Caldi's wants to do something elevated and different, and a new experience where it's like, Caldi's. Do you guys have any syrups at all?
We do have a small menu in our cafes.
So
Like a
yeah,
small list.
I mean, you'd probably want to replicate that because if you have customers going to your cafes, you go to the drive-through, they want the same thing. So I'd say there you got syrups 100%. It's just like the matter of how many and what kind of additions.
I feel like you just keep your core. You have your vanilla, your hazelnut, your chocolate, and your caramel, and then maybe the seasonal option that comes through every now and then.
and having the syrups doesn't
Agree with that.
necessarily negate your quality experience as far as like going to a high-end, like coffee shop if they have vanilla.
It's kind of like your question about having big gulps or whatever. It's like, it depends on the market. You don't want to turn away a guest if they're willing to spend. If they're going to spend $20 on a big gulp worth of vanilla latte, those are the people that are paying your bills while the other crew comes through and gets a shot of espresso or a cappuccino.
And I'll chime in here too real quick. Travis Trotter says, I actually work with a convenience store who has a higher end coffee integrated in our stores. The best of both worlds with convenience and quality drinks. So if you're ever in Nashville, you got to come see us. Travis,
What's
you
it
got
called?
to tell us the name of your
What's it
shop.
called? I gotta get gas
Tell us
station.
the name of your shop.
That's Nashville. Nashville's killing it. Bud, you've got some stuff in Nashville too, right?
Travis works for the White Bison I was just talking about.
Oh,
That-
awesome.
Yeah, he's the man.
And so for drive-throughs, Mark, water quality, I'm sure they take all this stuff seriously, right? Is there anything on this list that you see like, I noticed on one of the slides you talked about shot quality not being, or what was the dialogue on that? Like, as far as the importance of that.
Yeah, realistically, shot quality, I really hate to say it, John, but shot quality is probably one of the least important things because once people are putting syrup in it, it really doesn't, it it really is a lot just less discernible. But I think the primary thing is this category is morphing, but the thing that is morphing to a higher quality. But the thing that really is embedded in this culture is people are driving, they're on longer drives, they want bigger drinks, and the far disproportional amount of the drinks are large flavored drinks.
Yeah. And I just realized that, hey, Bud, I don't want to keep you on if you, I was usually like, he has a question and we're not going to let him leave now.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining in, bud. I
So
appreciate it.
do you want to hang out, or you want to?
I mean, I'll get off. I don't want to derail the conversation.
No, I don't want
just
you to
told
leave.
you I was going to come on, and I just
Well-
saw what you guys were talking
No,
about.
I don't
We'll
want you to
transition
leave.
back.
You can leave if you want to leave, Bud. But you're in it for the long
my
haul.
own
at this
person.
point.
I can.
Like, we want you here. I do. Mark, do you want Bud? Hardy? All right.
It's all good.
All right. Well, I don't know what's happening, but we'll keep it flowing.
Well, Mark brings up a good point that it's morphing, and it's morphing towards higher quality. So it's not to say that shots are not important, and that really crap shot would sell just as well. So him saying that it's morphing into higher quality encourages me that as an industry that, well, the public is who's going to drive this. It's the consumers that have trained their palates to know what's good and what's bad, and what they will tolerate as far as something that's not the best quality.
Let's say, like in my neighborhood of Nebraska, there is a limited amount of opportunities for the upper echelon world of coffees, especially outside of the smaller cafe area. So, I mean, I just see this like huge potential out there for growth, especially after this year, where I don't want to sound like a vulture capitalist, where it's like, oh, let's build a bunch of drive-throughs now that everybody won't go anywhere. But the fact is, that's how you might be able to survive. You might be able to survive in that area, or change up your program. How are you going to do it? This could be one of the ways that you may feel like you want to explore. Maybe a drive-through will be good for you. Maybe getting relationships with convenience stores might be a way to diversify your roasting and grow. But I think a point of this whole coffee tech talk is to have, that spurred this idea is, Mark, having the availability of equipment that fits a certain culture of speed and convenience and low price, but cleanliness, and still you can be friendly, and you can still have a variety of cup sizes probably coming out of that. It's not, I don't think it's consumer facing. It's still someone behind the bar has to run this machine. Is that correct? Like, you need a barista to do it?
You can actually do it either way, John. I mean, a
Okay.
lot of it is perception, and the perception of being served the cup has a higher perceived value than self-serve. But in technical and technology areas, both colleges, universities, and in corporate campuses, where they understand the technology and they are not assuming that it means a lower quality drink, those people are embracing the technology as self-serve.
So I put this slide up here. It's Eversys Advantage, and this is one of the slides that you sent to me. It says eliminating one labor position. I was like, so you're fired. You're out of here. That's one less. So to be a little less harsh about the idea of like having less employees, this is an honest to like it's just a reality. And if you don't have to fire anybody, that's wonderful. Maybe you could possibly start without the employee to begin with, so
Well,
you don't have to fire.
Yeah,
anybody.
but the reality of it is, John, the reality of it is everybody's having a hard time hiring enough people and paying them where there's $1 a month, $15 an hour minimum. So what this is, Sally, you didn't really want this job anyway, and you've shown that by not showing up, 3 times this week. And that means that we get to pay Daryl an extra $2 an hour.
Right. Well, hey, so I gotta we've got some technical issues, but I gotta let you go.
All right. Yeah, it
all
was
right.
great.
Thank you
Great
so much.
having
Hey, do you have any questions before you go real quick? Like, anything?
What what else, gas stations are great and that's convenient and all, but like, how does this correlate? Like everybody correlates coffee, especially coffee scene, with the craft brewing scene, and beer's gonna stick around and good beer is gonna continue to grow and good coffee is gonna continue to grow. But it's not just like just the convenience factor. It's like, what else are we gonna be getting into in this industry? What are the things that you see us surviving a future pandemic or the future needs of people? And do people have the palate for specialty coffee? And is that going to continue to grow, or is that going to go to another country? Like, is Australia going to buy all of it in the future? I just don't know what the conversation, like, it's kind of unpredictable at this point. And if you guys have any thoughts about what do the next 20 to 50 years look like for coffee? What do the next 5 years? What are your thoughts?
Well, with that being said, we're going to cut you out and we're going to talk about that question. And thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you later.
See you
Bye, bud.
guys.
Bye. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty deep.
Let's talk about it. Like in the next 20, 30 years, is this where coffee's going? Are we going to find a middle ground? Are we going to do like is this concept of like where we have been going into shops, waiting in line, getting a perfect shot of espresso? Is that going to come back? Or are we going to go more in this direction? Or is this a slow move, or is this where we want to go?
I think it's going to be a hybrid. And I've said, I kind of believe this all along, ever since I was introduced into super automatics, is there is a place for it. And I'm really thankful that the super automatics are of higher quality products these days than back then when I was first introduced to them. There's shops, I'm a proponent for a super automatic style machine, but I'm also, you would never hear me say it needs to go into one of our artisan shops. If you want them to go out of business, yeah, put a super automatic in there. People want to be served and they want to feel like they're having a handcrafted drink, and there's value in that show. And there's value in the talent that the barista has to be able to do that. All of that's valuable and consumers will pay for it. But there's a lot of places, and it's growing. And that's the reason the Mark's on here, is to shed light on those niche markets that it just makes sense.
Yeah, and here it says triple shot, 1 drink cycle, half shot time. For the coffee barista nerds out there like myself, what do you what's the difference there between what's a half shot time? I guess.
Mark, have you got some thoughts on that?
A half shot time?
It says something like triple shot, 1 drink cycle is a half shot time. Maybe I got the wrong slide or something.
Yeah, no, that basically what that's showing is on most super automatics, you have 15 grams as the maximum shot capacity. So what this was really something relative to the competition, but you can get 25 grams of coffee into the brew group. So if you're going for speed, you're doing 1 drink cycle with a triple shot as opposed to 2 drink cycles to create that triple shot.
That makes sense to me, Mark.
Yep.
Some of the other machines that are out there are limited on their shot time or their shot capacity as far as gram weight. So to get the larger shots or a ristretto type shot where your ratios are pretty high.
Yeah.
Coffee to water. So
And
yeah, that's just Eversys, that's their forward thinking.
I almost think that's a game changer in a sense, because I've seen a lot of super automatics that are not able, like you said, there are limitations there of, you only have a certain amount of time and you can only load so much coffee per shot. And when you have that ability to add a little bit more, that's I feel like that could be a game changer.
A little
This
bit,
afternoon,
25 grams.
Yeah,
just
a little
this
bit.
afternoon, I was talking to Kevin at Rescue One out of Chicago, and he was telling me, because we have the same experience with some of the other super automatics, but the other big issue is you just can't tighten that grind down fine enough to get an equivalent kind of shot to what you'd get out of a Marzocco, a Synesso, or a Slayer. So having a big, powerful motor that can actually give you if you want a 30-second shot, you're not going to get that in any kind of 15-second shot equivalent. It's just not going to happen. One
Well,
of
hey,
the things we were talking about was, peering into the future a little bit, and if we look to Italy and you look at the airports in Italy and you look to the autostradas and the stops in Italy, to Marty's point, if you've got a destination coffee bar, it's like listening to somebody, a concert pianist on a grand piano. Of course, you're going to want them to have a Steinway grand piano to listen to that symphony. But when you go to Italy, and if you want to look at kind of our future, and all of those autostradas, in all those airports, people are very comfortable in getting that same beverage in, massive quantity through a different kind of machine, this kind of machine. So,
And I think, and we only have a couple minutes left. We're gonna have a hard stop at 8 o'clock tonight because there's a bunch of, I don't know, stuff happening at 8. It's no big deal. I don't know.
just arguing, aren't they? Isn't it just two guys telling lies to each other?
Somebody's talking about something and they're gonna be fighting back and forth and they're gonna maybe maybe even not even talk to it. I don't know. It's just a mess. We're not gonna talk about that.
Hey, John,
Bill,
can I throw
Bill,
one?
Nothing.
Can I throw one thing out here?
We got 2
And
minutes.
it's
Go for it.
it's on topic.
All right.
And this may already be a thing somewhere, but it's the million, and I'm giving this away.
All right.
We have ATM machines where people are very comfortable walking up to the ATM machine and doing their thing, collecting money, making deposits, doing whatever they need to do. Wouldn't it be really cool to have ATM slots that dispense coffee?
I saw
You
something
just-
like Onyx has.
Do they do that?
I saw a place that has a conveyor belt and then there's like a window at the end of it. And it's like, you better
Oh,
be ready.
that's cool. But I'm
You better
talking
be
about
ready for that drink. 'cause it keeps
If
on
you
going.
look at it, it would be a window that a single person could walk up to, get what they want, poke it in through a user interface on a touch screen, and a cup comes out and you've got coffee, latte, whatever, fully automated, and
So
have a
there's
half a
3
dozen of
different
these down the.
companies. There's 3 different companies that have hacked Eversys machines to do that, and one literally is in Toronto, street facing, and it looks like an ATM machine. I'll send you the picture.
So
I'd
we've got
love to-
ATM.
love to see it.
This is
I think
the
that's
future of coffee is ATM machines. And I gotta let Dietrich go. He's closing down shop right now, guys. Mark,
Unplug?
no, go ahead
No,
and go ahead and just kind of say goodbye and where.
Thank you. Mark.crawford@eversys.com or mark.macchiato@gmail.com. I'm the same at both places. Be happy to talk to anybody about Eversys. Thank you for all of you guys that are using Eversys out there. Let's just keep raising the bar. We've got a new machine that was just released last week.
Wow.
And basically just, newer, faster, better technology. Oh, Eversys.com. EVERSYS.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you, Mark.
Hey, thank you so much
Appreciate
for doing this. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
We really
John. Thanks,
appreciate
John.
it.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It's,
awesome. And
sometimes-
thanks, Dietrich, for handling this all.
It could be a 3-ring circus, I know.
Yeah, well, today was a 5-ring circus. 5 rings.
That's great.
All right.
Dietrich, you did a great job. Thanks for
Yeah, thanks, Dietrich, for handling this. And Marty, as always,
John,
see you next week. Oh, next week we've got an awesome. It's going to be Nick from.
La Marzocco.
You're right, and we're going to talk about training, and we're going to talk about other stuff, La Marzocco
Excellent.
stuff. So